So for this video, I'm actually not going to be teaching you today. We actually have a guest teacher, John Hitch, who's going to help us out today, and I will see you at the end of the video.
Okay, so graphing linear equations. The formula for this is y equals mx plus b. M would be the slope, and b would be the y-intercept. Steps, write down your formula. This will come in handy when solving word problems. And step 2, if the slope is a whole number, change it to a fraction. Graph the y-intercept. If the y-intercept is 0, start at the origin. From the y-intercept, use rise over run to add 2 more points to your graph, and connect the points you drew to the line, and check your work. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like in a minute here, but negative, undefined, and horizontal slopes. Let's go ahead and do this. An example of a negative slope is y equals -5. This would result in a declining slope. So you have the general positive slope starts at the left, goes to the right, and gradually increases. The downhill slope is starts at the left, goes to the right, but decreases. The horizontal slope is just equal to 0. That might be something like y equals 2. And a vertical slope would be undefined, so it would be like x equals 4, x equals 1.5, stuff like that. Okay. So, things to keep in mind. Write down your formula, y equals mx plus b. So, you may not need it for these problems down here that we're about to do, but for word problems it comes in handy, so you can plug in the numbers, the slope and the y-intercept. Remember, y equals mx plus b when graphing a linear equation. A slope like x equals 2 or x equals 7 is always undefined. Horizontal slope is always equal to 0. And the origin of graph is where the x and the y-axis meet. Let's go ahead and do the first problem, and for the first step, we'd write down the formula y equals mx plus b. Now they already give you it with the slope. Let's go ahead and do this. They give you the slope and the y-intercept. So we can go ahead and plug that in right here. All right. So if the slope is a whole number, change it to a fraction. In this case, the slope right here is not a whole number. Again, 1/3 is not a whole number, so we do not have to do step 2. Third step, graph the y-intercept. So this is the y-intercept right here. So we can graph that by starting at the origin, going up 2 points, or 2 spots on our graph, and making a point. So that's our y-intercept plus 2. Okay. From the y-intercept, use rise over run to add 2 more points to your graph. So we can go ahead right here, see that we have rise, we have run. So we have rise over run and we can use the slope to graph 2 more points. So from the y-intercept, you want to go rise 1 and run 3 and make your point. So +1 +3, and then from that point you can do it again. You can rise up 1 and run 3. Make your point. Okay, now for our final step, we want to connect the points using a line. That is our what the linear equation graph should look like. I can erase all this stuff, and that's what it should look like in the end. Check your work. You just want to make sure that your line is straight and that you don't have a point down here, because then the line would not be straight and would not work. Okay, finally tell if it's negative, positive, horizontal, or undefined. Again, in this case, it is a positive slope. Because it gradually increases from the left to the right. Alright, next problem. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. So we'd write down the formula y equals mx plus b. And if the slope is a whole number, change it to a fraction. In this case, again, the slope right here is not a whole number. Negative 2/3 is not a whole number, so we do not have to do step 2. And then let's see, step 3, we want to graph the y-intercept, which in this case is a positive 3. So you'd start at the origin, go up 3 points, and make your point on the graph. And that would be your y-intercept. And then from there, you would want to do the slope rise over run. And I'm going to do this in a different color because it gets confusing. So this would be our rise, and 3 would be our run. So we'd rise negative 2 points. So unlike our last problem, when we go up, the rise is a negative, so we'd go down 2 points to 1. And then run over 3 points. So we'd go 1, 2, 3 over here. And make a point, and do that again. Okay. Finally, connect the points with a line. And you'll have the graph. Now tell if the slope is positive, negative, horizontal, or undefined. In this case, the slope is actually negative. Because as you can see, we start from the left, go to the right, and it's a gradually decreasing line. Okay, so let's do number 3, and then you can do 4 through 7 on your own. So first step, write down your formula y equals mx plus b. If the slope is a whole number, change it to a fraction. In this case, our slope is not a whole number, it is a fraction, so we can skip step 2 again. But this time, you do not have the y-intercept. So y-intercept would normally be plus 2 or plus 1, something like that. In this case, we don't have it, so the y-intercept is just plus 0. Okay, so y equals 1/3. So you don't even need the plus 0 here. I'm just writing it for you to understand. When graphing the y-intercept, because it is 0, we just start at the origin. So make your point on the origin, and you can get rid of this altogether. So from there, use rise over run to graph 2 other points. So again, we have 1 is our rise, 3 is our run. So we would rise up 1 and run over 3. Make a point, rise up 1, run over 3, and make a point. So this is what the graph should look like at this point. and we can go ahead and get rid of that. All right. So, one thing to really remember is if you do not have a y-intercept here, if you don't have b, all you want to do is just make the y-intercept. The y-intercept would be at the origin here. So keep that in mind for the next couple problems. All right, and checking our work, it is a straight line, so it is correct. And telling if it's positive, negative, or undefined, as you can see, it gradually increases from the left to the right, so it would be a positive slope. Okay, go ahead and try 4 through 7 on your own. Alright, so for number 8, you have x equals 7. Now, if you were to graph something like this, as you can see up here, let's see, it would be an undefined slope, so it would be vertical like this. So if you were trying to graph this, you would go over on the x-axis to 0.4 and make a point, and then your line would just be, let's see, your line would be right here. And it would just run down that 4 right there. Now this leaves you with a undefined slope. Alright. So anything like x equals 7 or x equals 1.5 or anything like that would leave you with an undefined slope. Alright. Number 9, I'll go ahead and do this one. Write down the formula y equals mx plus b. The slope is not a whole number, so we don't have to change it to a fraction. And we can graph the y-intercept. So the y-intercept would be 1.5. Let's go ahead and write this down. Negative 1 over 3x. And then we'd want to do plus 1.5. So our y-intercept would be 1.5, so it would be around here, in between 1 and 2. And then we would use rise over run again to go down 1 point and across 3. Down 1 and across 3. Now the reason I put this problem in here is so that you could see that even if you have a number with a decimal, it does not change the outcome. So you would still graph this line and it would look something like that. All right. So, for now, this would be a negative slope. Write that a little bit better. All right. So, go ahead and try 10 through 12 on your own. So for number 13, we have a word problem. This is where the first step comes in handy. You want to write down your formula, y equals mx plus b. Alright, so Jenna works at a retail shop. She makes $10 per hour plus $3 for each item she sells. So $10 per hour, let's put that in blue. And for $3 for each item, let's put that in orange. Make and graph a linear equation that shows how much money Jenna makes in 1 hour. Now, the $10 is going to be your starting point because that does not change throughout the hour. It changes throughout the day, but it doesn't change through the hour. So if it's asking you to find how much she makes in 1 hour, she's given $10 for every hour that she works. Even if she sells 0 items, she's still given $10. So that's going to be your B or Y intercept. And then she's given $3 for each item she sells. So you want to do 3 and then equals Y. And let's include the X here. So in this case, 3 would be our slope. Or 3 over 1. Let's change it to 3 over 1. X would be the number of items she sells. And 10 would be the Y intercept. So let's go ahead and color code this. Okay. So, graph this like any other equation, linear equation. Let's just write it out again so you can see it better. All right. So third step, I'm gonna graph the y-intercept. So this is the base price that she makes per hour. So let's go ahead and make that at 10 because the y-intercept is 10. All right. Then you'd want to do $3 for each item she sells. So 3 over 1. So this is the y-intercept right here. Right. And then from there, you'd want to do rise over run. So it would be the slope is 3 over 1. So you'd want to go up 3. Oh, that's more than 3. Hold on. Up 3. And then you'd want to go over 1 and make a point. And then you would go up 3 again and over 1 again. Alright, and then you can go ahead and connect that with a line. So let's do this in a different color, and let's make it a smaller line. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to try to make this as straight as possible. So you can see by this graph, it kind of shows how much money Jenna makes in an hour. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And you can see at down here we have the items. And this would be the amount of money she makes, dollars. And you can see at 0 items right here, Jenna still makes $10. But at 1 item, actually it would be right here, would be 1. she would make $13. And this is 13, this point right here. And that keeps going up. So at 2 items, you could see that she makes $16. So you could keep putting points on here, and maybe on a larger graph you could see how much money she would make an hour if she sold 10 items or 15. And this is useful to find, how much money she makes in an hour. So your graph should look like this. And obviously it's a positive slope. She's not giving money away, she's earning it, right? Something like this. So for number 14, challenge problem, go ahead and use what you have up here and add on to that. So Lisa also works in retail, but only makes $7 per hour and $4 for each item she sells, right? And graph a linear equation that shows how many items Tammy and Lisa would need to sell to have the same amount of money for 1 hour. So I'll give you a hint for that one. It is where their 2 lines meet the point there. Okay, so go ahead and try that on your own. And if you have any questions about the challenge problem or any of the other problems, let me or Mr. Lewis know.
So John, I want to say thank you again for being willing to make this video. I greatly appreciate it. A couple of things I want to just kind of touch base one more time with you guys. Y equals mx plus b is the equation you must know. M is slope. Rise over run. Make sure you know that. Followed by the B is your y-intercept. So if you know what B is, all you have to do is put a dot right there on the y-intercept, which is on the y-axis, and then use your slope to go up, down, left, right, whatever direction you need to go. And you've got your line. And that's it, guys. I appreciate it. John, thank you again. Awesome sauce to you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.